because you are using present knowledge of your world.
Guys, can we do an intro before we do the topic, please?
Yes!
Please. You keep diving into it.
Sorry, I can't help myself.
I'm
Hello,
pulling
nameless
you out of the
viewer.
pool.
Hello, viewer. You specifically have been chosen to be reborn into the world of podcasting as our recording software.
Welcome.
To the podcast. I'm Alina.
I'm Peter.
I'm Cole, and you're OBS.
Yes, you are. You've been reincarnated, reborn, reformed into OBS. Congratulations.
I was reincarnated as recording software, and now I have to listen to these three jokers all the time?
Yes. Yes, you do.
That's the full title.
That's the full title. Oh no.
We don't have to name the episode that, but I think it'd be funny.
The
No, I think that should absolutely be the name of the episode.
The podcasters I listen to are batshit insane.
Tales from Someone Reborn as a Recording Software. Batshit insane is just listens to us play fucking tabletop games.
That just reminds me of that. There's a fucking Isekai anime that some guy is reborn as a random household object, and which one he is changes every single episode. So, like the first one, he is an ASMR mic.
Oh no!
Oh, I would try to find any way to not be alive anymore. If that happened to me, I swear to God.
Okay.
I'm filled with a deep hatred for ASMR.
That's fair.
It is so uncomfortable to listen to. Even if it's not people making mouth noises into the microphone, if it's like object noises, God, I would rather drown in the lake.
Jesus.
The ocean is too far.
Congratulations, Cole. You've doxed yourself. You do
I've
not
doxed
live
myself.
You do not live
There's
near
a
an ocean,
lake.
but you live close enough to a lake. That's off the east and west coast, as well as like most of the Rockies, I guess.
There are lakes in the Rockies, I think.
You
I'll go
think,
outside.
or
You
you
did it
know?
further.
No, I don't go outside. I don't know what's near me geographically.
I know what's near you geographically, including your exact address, which is...
Just like a long tone afterwards.
Cole, your
Didn't say
exact
anything.
address is the topic of this episode.
Our viewer has been isekai'd into your house.
That's uncanny because I don't have recording software on my computer.
That's why I said they've been isekai'd into your house instead. They are your house now.
They've joined the Shadow People.
Yeah.
Guys, if all the shadow people who I see and hallucinate are isekai'd individuals, what are they doing here? Why do they choose to look at me?
Well, cause
I'm not
You think
doing
it's a
anything
choice?
interesting. I would hope it's a choice. I would hope
They're
that they
probably
could
not
choose to go
thing.
somewhere else. Actually, no. Hoping that it's a choice and that they've chosen to stare at me my entire life is actually worse for me, not for them. Worse for me. And in this situation, I'm the one that I care about. So
All right. So,
isekai.
what is it?
What is it?
Yep.
I think for the definition of this episode, we can define isekai does not require death. implicitly. It does not require death. It is common, but it does not. You don't have to die. You just need to be transported to some other world. Meaning that, as we were discussing before the podcast began, if you are sent back in time, either in your own younger body or sent back in time and you like become somebody else or like transposed into another body, that does not count as an isekai because it is not an other world. If I recall correctly, the word isekai literally means another world.
Yes.
It does.
It does.
However, I kind of wish we could include Erased in this topic, but
We can
another
have
time.
a whole episode dedicated to Erased, honestly.
I don't want to, though.
Why not?
I did not like the ending.
I mean, that's fair. A lot of people don't. But like,
Cole didn't
it
like
doesn't
all of
mean-
Skyrim,
I
but we
have
still did
fucking-
an episode on
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I have Mass Effect on my list, and I don't like the ending to that trilogy either.
What do you mean? It ends with a Citadel DLC.
You're right. You're absolutely right. The Citadel DLC is amazing. And if that was the actual ending, I would have no complaints. But it's not. So I'm going to stop talking until we maybe do those episodes in the future.
Okay. So, the definition
For
of
the-
an
for the-
isekai is literally otherworld
Literally
then-
other world.
going into it. Through the
Yes,
power
the
of...
only requirement for the sake of this episode for something to be considered an isekai is that a character, preferably the protagonist or the main protagonist, has been sent to another world, and they are the one that we are following around.
Mhm.
Or maybe not, they're not the one we're following around. Maybe we're following some person who's in this world, and like you've got a deuteragonist that has been isekai there. That could work.
Regardless, it does need to be central, or I say central to the plot, as if most isekais don't fucking drop that basically instantly past episode 1.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm gonna honestly this episode, whenever it's my turn to talk, I'm gonna be talking about isekai as a whole instead of dropping specific examples.
I have nothing but specific examples.
I'm aware. That's why I'm framing myself on the other side of that. So there are multiple things to talk about.
I'll be talking about whatever my ADHD decides at that very moment.
And that is valid.
Fucking roulette wheel spinning around in your brain.
Anyway, Cole, I think you should start since you're getting a more general.
True.
True.
I suppose. Sure. I am doing a more general
We'll get
thing
into
today.
my examples eventually.
Later. Also, a lot of your examples are from like webcomics and are from tapas specifically. I don't know how.
I've
to
never
pronounce
heard it
exactly.
said out loud. I have no
I
idea.
only ever read the word.
Tapas. That's what it's. That's how you
The
spell
app-
it.
The application tapas.
Dracula's last name.
Dracula's last name. That's Tepesh.
I know what I said.
Which I believe is not host to a lot of manga, but is host to a lot of manhwa, which is Korean.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't. I've noticed
So,
that.
I know. That's for the audience. I know you know that already because we've talked about this a lot.
I know. It's just-
Look, there's manhwa, which is Korean, and manhwa, which is Chinese.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. There's manhwa, which is Korean. Manhwa is Chinese, apparently. I actually didn't know that.
Manhwa.
And then manga is Japanese. And the reason that those distinctions are important is because those are three related and connected but different cultures, and so the way they tell stories is going to be different.
Yes.
So the way that a manhwa might do isekai is going to be different from the way that other stories do isekai. It is the topic of isekai, right? Like fucking Narnia could be considered an isekai. That's like the British take on it, I guess.
Yeah, it's in fact, I'd say it's goes so far as to say it is one of the progenitor isekai.
I mean, yeah, the books are pretty old, so
True.
I would not know exactly what the first isekai could be considered. Anyway, yeah, if you're in media spaces, particularly ones that consume uh, media from, you know, places. Fuck. Uh, like, particularly if you're into media from Japan or Korea or China, uh, then you may have noticed that there's a lot of saturation of isekais for the past several years. Um, and I think this has been, like, on one hand, a good thing. I believe that there are so many interesting things that you can do with isekai as a type of story. Um, God, do none of them really do it, but none of them do anything. Like you said, Peter, they drop it immediately. The fact that someone has been brought in here from another world is only ever used as an excuse for the fact that they know jack shit about the world that they're in, so that that person can get exposited to, and therefore the viewer can get exposited to. And then, like, it's basically usually a lot of the time you get isekai into fantasy, right? So, like, it's just stock fantasy after that point in time,
Yeah.
which is not inherently bad. It's just so boring.
Yeah, I would much rather they just have a stock fantasy setting without the need to include isekai. It would not change the fact that it's still boring, but at least they're upfront about it.
Yeah, right. At least it's gonna try and hook you in with this premise. Especially, I think a really missed mark in a lot of these is the fact that the Elseworlders' original life basically never comes back up ever again in any way, shape, or form, in any way that it shapes the motivations. There is what I think is a pretty decent isekai, because it's also just a good story, even if it weren't an isekai. So, like, I think you could do away with the isekai element, and it would still be, like, I think it's unnecessary to this story. It's called Ascendance of a Bookworm, where you have a really book obsessed. Sorry, I'm going to a specific example, I know, but I'm going to use this to make a broader point. Uh, she's just like a researcher, a scientific researcher, I think, in the modern day. She's obsessed with books. She loves books, loves reading, and then she dies. I think she gets hit by a falling bookshelf, which is ironic. And she gets reincarnated into a fantasy world that is much more like low fantasy. There are some, like, magical elements, but it's otherwise just like medieval Europe as we imagine it. Uh, and she learns very quickly that A, there's a full different writing system here, of course, and B, reading is for rich people. And she has been reborn in a very, very specifically, her soul gets transported into the body of that family's sickly young daughter, who was dying, presumably did die, and then this rando's soul gets inserted into the corpse. And her family's not, like, wealthy at all, but she is, like, good at math, and it has, like, a leg up on other people because she is already familiar with, like, writing systems, so she can learn to read fairly easily. But she wants books. She just wants to be surrounded by books for the rest of her natural life.
Wish to be engulfed in the books.
Which, it's a very relatable phenomena. If I could, like, live in a secret library somewhere in the woods, that's the perfect life to me. Anyway,
Not to me, you're wrong.
It's not my perfect life, and therefore you're wrong.
Therefore you're incorrect.
Woe be upon thee.
I hope you get hit by a truck and isekai into a world where there are no books.
And the story really just follows, like, her attempts to, like, learn the writing system, and then eventually, like, gain some form of wealth so that she can afford to be surrounded by books. I fell out of the story because I caught up to it at one point in time, and then, like, I never got back into it when there were new updates. But it's generally, like, it's just really heartfelt. It's a nice story, and I think it would be a good story anyway without the isekai point. It's just that her prior life knowledge is the thing that is what allowing her to be able to do these things, right? That's the point of reference to it, where the fact that she worked in mathematics previously allows her to like do accounting essentially in this world. Like she already knows how to do like complex math. She is already like familiar with language systems, so she can learn how to read this new language faster than other people. Uh, and like that's like the experience from her previous life is used in her new one, and I think that's something that a lot of isekais, a lot of the like generic isekais at least, do not do, because like without the isekai component of the story, she is just a like 7-year-old savant child, which would be fine. Like I think that's also a fine story. It's just like this is essentially like the isekai serves as like the excuse purpose for why she's able to do these things. Um, but it even still is like relying on her past life knowledge. And I think one missed opportunity that a lot of isekais have is never, ever actually using prior knowledge of anything, or if they do, it's in the most ridiculous fucking ways, where like someone goes to like invent modern technology in this fantastical world, or use knowledge of modern technology in this fantastical world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, buddy, I don't know how to tell this. You were like a fully average shut-in, right, before this.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you know all of the internal workings of a computer
You
and
gotta do
like a
something while
gun?
being shut in.
Well,
Yeah,
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 and
but that's never
that's the
brought up.
reason. That's the reason that they don't use prior life knowledge, because
They have none.
I have none.
most isekai protagonists are meant to be self-inserts for the audience, which is primarily 15 to 18-year-old boys who have done
Yay.
nothing with their life.
Target
The
demographics.
target demographic of mine are the same age range, but girls, I think.
Yes, from what you've told me of your examples previously, that sounds
Yeah.
correct.
So we got all types of
Regardless, the
demographics here.
viewer is intended to have zero life experience whatsoever, and therefore be able to relate to a protagonist with zero life experience whatsoever.
Listen, right? Because the thing that's theorized to have like kicked off, the thing that I see cited a lot as what kicked off the modern trend of isekai, is fucking Sword Art Online, which, to its single credit, did you like Kirito, the protagonist, while he's trapped in this virtual world, it is established within the story that he has been like doing computer shit since he was a little kid. So like there is an in-universe explanation for his ability to like exploit mechanics, like game mechanic systems, essentially. Now, the author of that series does not really seem to understand how MMOs or RPGs work, so. But like technically within the text, Kirito's a very good, skilled computer boy, and is like that's what informs his ability to do the to be good at the video game.
To be good at the video game.
And so, like even that one has that to give it a small bit of credit. The main protagonist does have one minor piece of characterization that informs his ability. It's not fully just him being ridiculously overpowered. It is most of that, but there is this other little thing as well.
Fair.
And so many of these other things, like, straight up do not have that. Like, there's not even life experiences that, like, a teenager could pull from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if one of these protagonists did, like, track and field as a club at their school? And so, like, they're a good sprinter or a marathon runner.
When the villain
Most
of the
of them-
fantasy world comes, I'll just
Listen,
sprint
I'm
away.
aware that the target audience is also a bunch of people who stay inside and don't do anything, but
No. I was going to say most of the isekai protagonists that you're thinking of are also self-admitted dropouts, so they don't even go to school.
That's true. That's also true. It is like the blandest fucking 16-year-old boy I've ever seen. I've been to high school when I was a teenager. I knew a lot of teenagers when I was a teenager. I do not for a moment believe that half of these fuckers are behaving in any way that makes sense for a teenager to behave, with the sole exception of them being unrelentingly horny. Because when I was a teenager, back in my day, most of the people I knew, not most of the people, but a lot of the people I knew, tangentially, like acquaintances with them, were just unrelentingly horny a lot of the time. I did not relate, which was a weird and alienating experience, but hey.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's like the sole trait that these fuckers have a lot of the time, is being really, really horny. And a lot of them are boys, and they're like unable to speak to women to the point where it could be considered a disability. I mean, like they go up to one, and anyone who's even vaguely attractive and looks feminine, and they're just like immediately unable to speak or think. Open mouth, drooling. I don't think that I haven't seen anyone have a stroke. I don't think that's what they sound like, but the point is that they're immediately so fucking flabbergasted by someone's beauty that they can't form a coherent thought, or let alone say any words, or even move in some instances, so distracted by the notion of breasts existing.
Oh my god, woman has woman parts? Whoa! Unheard of. Not allowed.
No one gets to have boobs anymore. They're confiscated. Give me all your tits. Put them in the basket. They'll fall forever, and then we burn it.
I'll put you in the basket first.
Please don't put me in the basket.
That's what
I don't want to be
about.
in the basket covered by a bunch of dismembered titties. That does not sound like a good time. That sounds very bloody.
Yeah. Sounds very... And fatty.
I'm mostly worried about the blood.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Blood washes off the grease and fat less so.
That's just human. That's just human bits.
Well, all human bits have blood in them, man.
Exactly. Well, listen, all right. The fat is contained within the flesh, and the flesh is covered in blood.
Okay, Cole, would you rather be stuck in a basket covered in dismembered tits or dismembered toes?
Huh. I'll take the dismembered boobs.
How did we get here? How the fuck did we get here?
Because I think that less people wash their feet than their chest.
Oh god. Anyway.
Can we cut this whole part out?
Yeah,
probably.
In the normal episode, definitely.
I've made myself uncomfortable. I apologize.
Alright.
I'm fairly confident I don't have ADHD, but I'm surrounded by so many people who do that the lull of a nonsensical tangent is irresistible sometimes.
All I said was not allowed. You're the one who brought up the basket.
Yeah, I did, and I'm sorry.
You did this to yourself.
I did do this to myself. I'm sorry to the viewer if that was weird and fucked up, and I'm not apologizing to myself.
Oh my gosh! All right.
Anyway, the ultimate point
as
of
the
all of
one
this
woman
is
here,
that,
you're fine.
thank you. Thank you for speaking for all women.
As we all know, I am a great representative of female She said
In the same
tumbling.
way that I'm a fantastic representative for all 40-year-old people everywhere.
Well, now we all
I
know how
didn't know
old
that you were
Peter
20
is.
years younger than my dad. My dad, who is, of course, of current age, older than 40.
Yeah.
Don't insult our viewers by implying that they can't do basic math.
That one I'm not apologizing for. I can't do basic math sometimes.
All right.
The ultimate point of all of this that I was trying to get to before I did something terrible uh, was that I know that like the target audience is a bunch of people who are teenagers who and therefore don't have a whole lot of ultimate life experience for them to project onto this protagonist. But I think like outside of video games, protagonist projection is so much less, at least interesting, if not less useful from a writing standpoint than, well, actually, it's actually very useful from a writing standpoint because you don't have to characterize your protagonist at all. So like if you're just trying to get something out, it's very useful. But if you're trying to make something that's like really good, you have to fucking characterize your main guy somewhat, like a little bit. Like even, like I said, even fucking Kirito, who's a bland ass bastard, has something going for him. It's just that the like having a character who has a strong personality, who has actual traits, character traits, will add to like not only the longevity of a story, but also just the general craft of it. Will improve it, especially if that's your fucking central character. The only isekais I've ever stuck around for have been those ones. And now I'm trying to think of an example, and my mind is going fully blank, but that happens.
I have a ton of examples, dude.
Yeah, so many.
So many. I don't know which one to go into. God.
Yeah, like there is the isekai of now it doesn't really do this thing of like using the past traits from their previous life to inform their current one, but there is that time I got reincarnated as a slime, which has some issues that are unfortunately just endemic to manga and anime in general. But as far as isekai go, actually pretty solid because the character has motivations and is like a person.
Wow.
Literally, the main character's motivation is kind of basic, but it works pretty well. It's just be helpful. Be helpful and be nice. And maybe solve this mystery, but mostly the first two.
Maybe solve the mystery, but it's a footnote.
It's like it establishes a monster nation state.
Oh.
In the woods.
Oh.
Sorry, I got very distracted. I would have been contributing to this more if I didn't see that they finally released literally anything about Megamind 2 and it looks awful.
Of course it looks awful.
Why? You can't improve upon perfection.
Exactly.
No, but I mean like not only did they not improve upon perfection, they actively ruined it.
Mm.
Well, we can just declare Megamind 2 non-canon.
Yeah. Like Pacific Rim 2.
I don't know anything about that.
I watched a video about it. The entire community agreed that that movie just didn't happen. We're not gonna. They don't talk about it.
It's like we don't talk about the Avatar movie.
Yeah. The what?
Dunno.
That's what I thought.
My brain is fully. I don't remember the past 2 seconds.
Yeah. Good.
Back to Isekai.
Yeah, back to Isekai.
That's the ultimate point. Can you imagine getting Isekai into Megamind? Anyway. You would probably just be a random fucking person.
Getting Isekai into any superhero narrative would be fucking horrifying.
No. But you're Isekai into Megamind like post-movie? Megamind 2 doesn't exist. You're fine.
I guess. I feel like there's gotta be more threats than just, like, 2 fucking guys.
Yeah, maybe. But for, like, the next 10 years, maybe, it's probably better than here.
Maybe.
The ultimate point is of this, that a lot of the isekais that kind of leapt onto the idea do have their blank shell protagonist, and then they do nothing interesting with them other than keep boosting their power levels. There's a related thing here, where because the reason a lot of people think Sword Art Online is the progenitor of this, I guess to call it a trend, I feel like production of animation takes too long for it to be a proper trend.
Don't worry, it's definitely a trend on Tapas. I can guarantee that.
Is because a lot of the isekais end up with your bland cookie cutter fucking 15, 16-year-old getting yoinked into a world that has like video game mechanic systems in it. For some reason, it's just how the world works there. Like complete with EXP and levels and like different stats and things that you can view either on yourself or on other people. And it's like a literal in-universe like number for your strength. This has gotten so bad that some actual fantasy stories are using this as a thing in their thing. And I don't know how old it is. I don't know if this goes back farther, but it's definitely gotten more prevalent since.
Oh no.
And this has the ability to be an interesting thing, right? As well. I don't think there are any. Okay, well, there are bad ideas for stories, but everything depends on execution, right? If you have the worst idea ever, but the most fantastic execution, you can still make something really memorable, at least, if nothing else.
That's how we get a so bad it's funny.
Right, yeah, you either end up with a so bad it's funny, or something that is genuinely good in spite of the terrible idea.
Yeah. Like if you read the plot synopsis, you would be like, "What the fuck?" But if you actually watch the movie or the show or whatever, you're like,
That's how I feel about the FNAF movie. Honestly, I hate all of the concepts behind FNAF as like a franchise. Scott Cawthon is a really bad ideas man. But the execution of the film was incredible.
Oh yeah.
So
it was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining. Like if you go in without expecting, sitting in a room for until 6 a.m. and getting jump scared a bunch, you're gonna have a fun time.
The movie takes place across multiple different rooms somehow.
Yeah. Through the power of not completely copying the game.
But yeah, they use these like leveling systems, literally video game ass mechanics. Just because a lot of the time, because I think that a lot of the reason my personal theory is that a lot of the like authors/artists for the original manga that these come from, or the writers of these light novels, want to do stuff for video games, or like their goal is to make a video game, but that's like in terms of skill, doing that by yourself is really inaccessible because you have to train a fuck ton of different skills in order to do that alone. Whereas if you're a decent artist, you can make you can draw manga panels. You don't even have to be a good writer to draw manga. Usually you team up with a writer for that, but sometimes you don't. A lot of mangakas are like really good writers and artists, but not all of them. God, not all of them. And then there's like the light novels is just writing. So like in terms of skills, you have to train a bunch of different skills to do a video game, but you don't have to train a bunch of different skills to write. You just have to train writing. And so I think that like these guys want to do video games, but don't want to do like the active shit ton of time investment it would take, or they don't have like the money to hire other people to help them out, or they don't have the time to train these other skills, so they do this other thing instead where they like project their game ideas into into this other thing instead. But it still is like, it's not, I don't think, it's not an inherently bad thing. You can do interesting stuff with it. You can have like fun skill combinations. Like if you're doing some Chrono Trigger shit in a different format than a video game, I think that could be really interesting. Chrono Trigger was really well known as an RPG for having basically every skill be combinable, and a lot of them interact in unique ways. So like if they were doing that with their writing, and like because a lot of these are shonen, so they're also like focused on fights and things. If they were at least doing that, then at least it would make the fighting interesting, and it would make for some fun set pieces. But they almost never fucking do. The protagonist gets one overpowered skill from dying and being reborn, and that's it. And they just use that and like evolved versions of it going on. Like I said, reincarnated as a slime inherits problems just from the anime medium, just in general.
It's the genre.
The genre of anime.
They're all the same. You see.
From the media. Fuck. From the medium in general, it inherits problems from the medium that it's in. But it does do interesting things with the skill. Rimuru is reincarnated as a slime, and so can eat things, and then eventually gains an ability to mimic the things that have been consumed, and uses this ability to do all kinds of like mix and match stuff, because they can access all of the abilities even while they're not in that form. Right, like they've used like spider abilities when they're not in like a spider form and stuff, right? So they can like mix and match and do a whole bunch of like really interesting things with it. And it's just cool. It's just a cool thing, and they're doing like all this fun shit with all these different quote unquote like video game-esque skills that they're gaining. That could be a thing that they could do it, but they do nothing with it. You get this one thing, and you just use that over and over again, or you get like a cool sword and you stab people with it a whole bunch.
I don't know if this is a good example, but I do have an example of one that's a guy in a video game.
I mean, if they're literally in a video game, it makes sense for there to be video game skills, but a lot of the time they're not in a video game.
Yeah.
And that's the part that bothers me.
That's fair.
I understand it's supposed to be a narrative framing device, but it's one that none of these fuckers can ever make work in a way that makes any sense, and it makes me want to burn. If I was reading them, on the actual book, I would burn that book personally. Not as like an erasure of knowledge, just so that I don't have to keep it.
That's fair. Just standing in this medieval
And also,
fantasy
I
land.
like
Yes,
things.
my EXP has increased by 200.
Right?
Like that doesn't.
Yes, I've gained 70 experience points from
Like,
entering a new zone.
I mean, like,
I'm gonna punt you down the stairs.
that makes sense if you're like, you know, playing a tabletop role-playing game, because again, that's a game. Not if it's just a fantasy book.
Listen, okay, being isekai'd into a tabletop role-playing game would probably be one of the worser options.
Yeah. Probably. Because like, oh god, who would be controlling your character?
Well, no, if you're just getting isekai'd into the world, then probably nobody is controlling your character.
Are you
Sorry, no, you meant your character that you were playing in the right.
Yeah.
No, I think they just act independently now.
Oh well.
I think that could actually be a really good hook for an isekai, is you and your friends are playing a tabletop role-playing game, you all get isekai'd into it.
Or just one of you.
Or just one of
It's
you.
just like one of you falls asleep during the game and then wakes up in the world and like but it could cut back to like the original world you're from, and your friends just being like, how is this character doing things? Our friend went missing like a week ago. What the
Like, yeah, when I look at my session notes, it says that this happened. I did not write this.
Yeah. See, that would be awesome.
I think that could be interesting.
I think
awesome. It would be more interesting, personally. This is what I would prefer. I don't think this is an inherently better idea. It's just what I would prefer. Is if everybody gets sucked in,
yeah,
but like split up,
no.
And you specifically, or our perspective character, ends up with the party of adventurers that they were just playing as. And is like, listen, I know this is gonna sound insane, but
I'm you from another world.
I know everything about your past because I wrote it.
Oh my god.
Now the real question is, if everyone gets sucked into a tabletop game, what happens to the game master?
They become God. I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think that is the like the immediate answer,
yeah.
And that is the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I think it would be funnier to end up as fucking random street urchin, because then you go from being God to an orphan, which is probably worse than being God.
Probably.
I wouldn't know. I've never been God or an orphan.
Yeah, me neither, man.
I can fix one of those for you.
No.
Yeah, Peter, I know you have an elixir of immortality in your back pocket.
That's not God, that's just times. Immortal.
Yeah, but it's one step closer to it.
One step closer. But Cole, if you're immortal, you can't ever be isekai'd because you can't fucking get hit by a truck. You don't have to die to be
isekai.
I know.
No, I will get hit by the truck. The truck will obliterate my body, and it'll slip through the cracks of reality. That's the other thing that I don't like about a lot of these isekais, is that when they die, they get sent into a new world, but they're sent in their body that's like a perfect replica of their old body a lot of the time.
My experience has been very different.
No, I know. I'm aware.
I don't know.
In the ones that I'm talking about, that's what happens. Which I feel like is just like a little boring. It's a bit of a cop-out. I feel like if you're sent into a body that already exists, you have like a whole history of that person's original body to contend with. Or if it's a new body that was randomly built for you, that comes with a whole host of problems. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if you woke up not only in a new body that's like fully different proportions to your own, if it's the same kind of thing at all, but also like, this is the weird place that my brain goes to. Your teeth will be different. Like the whole structure of like your mouth will be shaped different. It won't be what you're used to. It'll just feel wrong.
Yeah. Your eyes,
And
like your eyesight could be different.
Your eyesight could be different.
How you smell, how you smell things could be different. How you taste things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like how things feel.
The general way that you perceive the world is going to be fully altered.
How you sound.
If you end up in a new body.
Like,
and unless like you get isekai and the protagonist character ends up like reincarnated as like a baby newborn into a new family, then I don't see a lot of stories like contend with that fact of like, if you get sent into a new form, you're going to be adjusting to things for a while, and there might be just some things you'll never get used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I've covered enough general stuff for the time being. I mean, what are your specific examples?
Oh dear God. Which one do I choose?
Well, when do you want to start with?
That's the question I've been asking myself this entire fucking time. Viewers, I don't think you realize how many fucking how many fucking stories there are on Tapas that are just the first episode is I was hit by a truck and now I'm the Duchess of what's his face. Like there's so
I'm the
fucking
Duchess
many.
Of what's his name?
Yeah, there's so fucking many. I don't. I have 2 video game ones. One I feel is more interesting than the other.
I mean, that's typically how it goes.
Yeah. One. Here, I'll start with the stupid one first.
Okay.
So this one's like a more lighthearted, like a lightly isekai than a lot of the other ones I have. It's not, you have a fucking heart attack and then you're a princess all of a sudden or something. This one is just it just takes place in an extremely immersive VR game. And it's basically this guy who's playing a new version of this game he used to play. He's trying to he's trying to rank up and be the best, video game guy in the game, except the strategy he used is one of the mechanics in the game is that if you pick a certain class, I think you can build a henchman for yourself, right? So he builds himself a henchman, and this henchman keeps misconstruing his words and his facial expressions. So this guy goes from trying to join the Heroes Guild and do cool quests to being the leader of a criminal gang. Recruiting another person who was part of the crime guild. And it just devolves from there. And it's in there's not really a lot in terms of stakes, but that's because it's mostly it's for the funny haha. It's a comedy. You're watching this guy try to go one direction and his henchmen are pulling him in the very opposite. And he can't do anything to stop it. And yeah, it's and sometimes he gets out of the VR headset and he goes and walks around in normal life and he talks to this buddy of his who's an intern at the company that made the game, So it's a rare instance of you technically isekai'd into this world, but also you can go back whenever you want, really. Which is the cool aspect I thought of that particular one was that it's not that he's trapped. he's just playing a video game. It's just such an immersive video game that he might as well have been transported into another reality. practically.
I think that fundamentally does count, especially if it never concerns itself with his waking life.
No, yeah, the game does not concern itself with his waking life. I think the only time they really collide is he's trying to get information out of a rival criminal guild, and he finds out his friend is in it. So he figures out what game character his friend is, kidnaps him, gets the information out of him, and then goes about his day. Yeah, so that's the only time they collide, and it's not even directly.
Yeah. I think that counts for the sake of it.
Yeah, I it's a very loose isekai.
I mean, the comedies typically are.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that one. But I have another one that's a bit more extreme. See if I can find it. Because I unsubscribed from it recently. Oh, there it is. Wow, it's the first thing to pop up. That was so easy. Anyway. Yeah, so basically, this one is not caused by someone dying. This one is one where one goes to sleep and then wakes up in this world. Basically, it starts off with this lady, finding this mobile visual novel dating game. And she plays it, she really likes it, but there's this hard mode edition on it, right? And the hard mode edition is the normal mode is how you would find any other visual novel mobile game, where it's that everybody loves the protagonist, and it's like, which boy do you choose? And there's the villain, some jealous other lady.
I'm familiar with the general concept.
Yeah. So in hard mode,
I've heard a lot.
Yeah. So in the hard mode one of this game, you play as the villain. That's in normal mode before the protagonist shows up.
Interesting idea.
Yeah,
it's actually a pretty interesting idea for a video game.
Yeah, for video. Yeah, so you play as the villain before the protagonist shows up, and you've got to convince these people to not hate you, because they start off hating you. Like, they will kill you if you say something wrong. Hate you.
Wow.
And you've got to get them to basically, one of them to love you before the protagonist shows up. So it's really hard, and she she's trying to play it throughout the whole night. She can't get it. She gets all frustrated, and she just goes to sleep. So she wakes up as the villain in this video game.
Oh, jeez.
And everyone hates her and wants her dead. And the story basically follows her need to survive. And the game has this mechanic called affection scores, where it shows you it's a percentage, right? So your goal, regardless of which mode you play, is to get somebody, whoever you want, to 100%. Because once it reaches 100%, that means they love you. You get your happily ever after with them. Yada yada yada. Everybody starts in the negatives in hard mode. So her own family is at -5, -10.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's horrible. So she's got to get everybody out of the negatives first. And using her knowledge, she has limited knowledge of hard mode, because she never finished it, because she couldn't finish it. She kept dying. So using her limited knowledge, you get to see her, this world is a real world, right? These characters are real people that she can talk to and interact with. But she treats it like a game the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there are moments where she's where she literally has a realization multiple times, where she's like, oh yeah, this isn't a game to them. because she's so busy strategizing to like, because her goal, like, since day one has been to get out of here, like to escape the game. Like she thinks if she wins the game, she'll escape. She doesn't know that for sure, but that's what she thinks, and that's what she's running on. And like it's unlike a lot of the other ones I've seen where like, you know, they show up and they're like they're in the villain's body, but like they do a couple of things differently and then suddenly everyone loves them. Like, no. No, it takes her a while before people start actually like enjoying her existence even a little bit. Like it's like she actually has to work for it. So yeah, it's called, this one's called Villains Are Destined to Die. I really like it. It's on Tapas. Yeah, if you have money, you can read it. Or use it through other legal means.
Oh, sorry, yeah. We do not condone piracy.
No.
Wink.
Why would I ever do that?
Wink emoticon?
Wink wonk. Yeah, those are that's my other video game example. Are there any thoughts on my video game examples?
I think that they're both pretty decent. Like I in my fucking spiel completely forgot to include the topic of comedy because I don't do a lot of comedy. Written comedy, unfortunately, is just not. It's not funny to me. It's like I recognize the humor in it. It's just unfortunately like I don't laugh, and so I don't tend to engage in comedy when it's written because it just doesn't do it for me. But I think those are both, like, from what you've told me at least, halfway decent examples at least, if not better.
Yeah.
That Villainess one sounds like a fun read, honestly.
It's so fun. When I first found it, I was so excited because it was like, wait, we aren't starting off with like everyone suddenly loves you all of a sudden. Like wait, did people hate her? This is a life or death situation.
The soul of the player inside.
Yeah. Oh god, I forgot. It started off like it's when she went into the world. It started off with her not being actually able to say things. Like there was pop-up dialogue she had to select. Like she couldn't say her own fucking thoughts. So she eventually like found the thing in the game that lets her freeform sentences, but at first it was like, oh, I see, I have 3 options here, and they all suck.
Yeah, that does remind me of a different isekai that I've heard of called I'm in Love with the Villainess, or something similar, which is the approach is that this girl does not like any of the 3 main boy love interests. She likes the villainess, and when she gets isekai'd into the game as the heroine, she does everything in her power to romance the villainess.
That's amazing.
And succeeds to an extent from what I've seen.
Nice.
There's one particular scene that I saw where she is in some kind of danger, and the game mechanic is supposed to be that you call for help for one of the 3 boys. Mm-hmm. And her willpower is so strong that she makes a 4th button manifest. Or something to that effect. A 4th button manifest regardless.
She's stronger than Monica, holy shit. Alright.
There is actually, this does bring me to like a separate, it's still on the topic of video game isekais, especially with the like scripted dialogue options thing. Mm-hmm. There is a concept that I would love to see explored, which is like you get isekai'd into, it can be some kind of dating game or any kind of visual novel, as the playable character, but the game is being played. So it's some fucking existential horror shit where you have no control over yourself.
Oh no, that'd be terrifying.
I don't know how long you could pull the horror out of that, but
I feel like at first it would be horrifying, and then at some point you would have to like let the person who has been isekai like get some amount of control, so it
yeah.
becomes less of a oh no, you have no control, to you have to survive this other force trying to get you to go the death route.
Death route.
Yeah. Do you choose the right or the left hallway? The left! The left! No, I want to go to the left! Fighting.
You have to become Monica and Monica the game to rig it in your favor.
Yeah! No, that would literally be it. Without deleting everything, possibly.
Yeah, preferably without deleting everything.
And
also, how would you get out?
I don't like beat the game.
Beat the game? That's usually what the requirement is. But what if it's not? What if the game ends and you're still there?
Maybe
the ultimate fucking downer ending. That would actually, I think, not be a good ending unless you've done the work throughout the course of the story to be like, you're not gonna get out of here.
Yeah, either that or like it ends on a good enough note of like, you know, like, yeah, you're still in the game, but the force that was trying to drag you in random directions is no longer there.
Yeah, like you may still be in the game, but like you're at least distinctly under your own volition now. Like
yeah, like it's like you are no longer a video game character. You are just this person in this world now. That would be cool. I think. I like that idea. Good job, you had an idea.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like I usually have ideas and then I fail to execute them. looks at my fucking years long hiatus to D&D campaign. Yeah, it's at least it's definitely my fault to a not insignificant extent.
Look, as long as you satiate us with the spin-off of that world, it's fine.
If my players are dogs, I just put them on a diet, I guess. Otherwise, they'd eat me. If you want to, if there's any other general examples or specific examples you want to cover,
I'm looking. Hold on.
Okay. I can do some more general things while you're looking.
Ooh, I've got a couple that use the we talked about this earlier, where like it uses the skills the person had in a prior, in their prior life, in order to help them succeed in the isekai life.
Those are good. I like it when those happen.
Yeah, so I've got one here. It's called The Perks of Being a Villainous. The rest of it's pretty generic. Person gets isekai'd into Fantasyland, daughter of a duke, you know.
Oh, wow.
You know, but she's the villain. Oh no. But the thing of note here is that there's magic in this world, right? And her family is known for being like really powerful mages, but her character is not magical at all. Like the daughter of this duke has zero magic capacity. But she learns after going to school, going to the academy for a bit, that all magic is just based on math. So like the circles and the formulas you do in order to complete the magic spell is just math. So she was an engineer. Like she was an engineering student in her prior life. So she basically simplifies the magic formula using algebra. and becomes this renowned genius in the world.
I gotta say, I do like it when fantasy actually does do like wizards are just mathematicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like fully takes it seriously. I love that.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically she her other plan, because like through the power of sexism, there's another obstacle she has to overtake in this world, which is that she basically, if she basically she has to get married off at a certain point.
Through the power of sexism, there is a sentence.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically, unless she like owns unless she owns a title for herself that she gets for herself, like she can't inherit it from her family, she has to get it herself. She's basically gonna have to be married off if she wants any form of money or anything, and she doesn't want that.
Man,
so her other
sure
goal,
you love the Victorian times.
yeah, so her other goal is to make money. As much as possible. So she basically uses her engineering degree, and her modern knowledge of the subscription model, in order to make it so that if people want to use the revised formula for magic, they have to pay her an amount a month, and she's
Oh my god.
and she's
Are you sure she wasn't also a business major?
She also comes up with a bunch of engineering sketches of things like, you know, blenders, so that she can open a cafe where they have smoothies and things.
That's kind of batshit.
And she blackmails her mage brother to make them work in that world. Using the power of being the villainess.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Smoothies kind of came out of nowhere.
Her reasoning for it was she was craving an Americano. Since they don't exist in this world, she's going to make them exist.
God, I want coffee so bad, but there's no fucking coffee.
Good thing I have an engineering degree. And you turned on my maid brother.
So, like, this does actually make sense because, like I said, one of the things like these guys that I was talking about that I vehemently dislike is when they start bringing in like modern understanding of the world, but they have not lived a life that would confer the level of understanding of the things they're talking about. Like, the average person does not know the ins and outs of modern technology to that necessary extent.
Yeah.
The way that political systems work to that degree. And so to have a protagonist that then actually does like do that like is actively using her engineering degree
Yeah.
to revolutionize the world's understanding of things is a blessing.
Yeah.
I swear I've seen one before where it's like a businessman gets isekai'd and uses his like negotiating prowess
Oh my god.
to try and live a comfortable life, but he just keeps getting embroiled in more conflict. I swear I don't know if that's just like an amalgam of other things that my head put together.
All
If
of
I've
the
actually read
Isekai
that.
in one.
Because I swear I've read that, but I cannot remember a title or any specific events.
it's hard to remember the titles of these.
It is.
Okay, all of these are not isekai, but all of them have the same sort of naming thing, so I'm just gonna go through these real quick. Okay, we've got my insanely strong henchman. Okay.
Okay.
We've got villainesses have more fun. We've got the villainess's daughter. We've got
If so many of them have similar titles, then
we got I married the male lead's dad. We've got the perks of being villainous. The next one I was going to talk about, I'm the tyrant secretary. All of these do this. It's like, I don't remember them by title. I remember them by the picture on the front.
Yeah, that's how I do it too.
It's just some of them aren't like that. Like most of which are ones that aren't isekais. Like some of them are just the name of the protagonist. There's one that's a little creative called Natsu Wicked Stepmom, because the person who's isekai'd in was a fashion designer. So it's like some of them are clever, some of them are fine, but a lot of them are just I'm the villain's daughter, or I accidentally seduced the male lead, it's like something like that.
Yeah,
it's less of a title and more of a description. Yeah. The next one I want to talk about is I'm the tyrant secretary, which I will.
Is this a good or bad example?
It's a good one.
Okay.
I mostly read the good ones.
That's fair.
If they get bad enough, I just don't read them anymore.
You have more self-control than I do.
Unless it's like stupid, like funny bad, then I'll read it like all the way. Because I'm like, how much of a train wreck is this? But anyway, I'm the tyrant secretary. I will admit does like devolve into just like romance. But at the beginning, it's this lady who gets isekai'd into this fantasy world. And she knows because this is one of those isekais where it's like it's a book in her world that she's read before. And she knows that she's been reincarnated as this like side character that's like mentioned in one fucking sentence. But like basically the premise that's supposed to happen according to the book is her brother is appointed as the emperor's secretary. Her brother fucking fucks it up, and as a result, the emperor, being, a tyrant, kills her entire family, including her. So, she decides that since in her past life she was a secretary for 5 years, she would do it instead. Because she had a much less of a chance of fucking up than her brother did. And oh wow, what do you know? She did a great job. Even got the emperor to chill the fuck out. And another interesting thing about this story, she's not the only one who's been isekai'd here.
Oh.
The original heroine of the story, the lady, the main lady, is also an isekai'd person who was isekai'd even before her. And not only is from the modern world, but has already gone through the story once.
Uh-oh.
She thinks that she, is supposed to end up with the emperor, because the emperor's the male lead, and they're supposed to have a happily ever after, yada yada. And then this random secretary lady shows up, and this is where the romance stuff starts to happen. Because the Emperor's like, I like the secretary. in his male protagonist way. You know. And this causes the heroine, quote unquote, to go batshit insane. She almost has like this main character syndrome where she does all this horrific shit, but she justifies it with, I'm the main character, so I get the guy. So it's basically just this one lady who didn't ask to be here. And this other lady who kind of does want to be here and is like, if you don't get out of my way, I will end you. And the other one's like, whoa, hold on. I'm just the secretary, calm down. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing about that one also that I kind of forgot about. They all blend in my head. But yeah. There's that one.
Yeah.
Ooh. There's another trend of ones that I've been seeing lately. Which I don't know if I'll go into the specific examples because quite frankly they're a little boring. But basically it's like the person who got isekai'd into the world is the person who wrote it.
I love that idea.
It is a really cool idea. It's just the particular ones I found also follow a lot of the other things that the Tapas ones do, where it's like, oh, everyone suddenly loves you. So it makes it boring in that way, but like the initial concept is like, wait, what?
I wish I could remember the title to this, because I heard somewhere, this is not an isekai, well, it actually isn't. It's what we refer to as a reverse isekai, where someone gets brought to our world.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy. And I wish I could remember the title of it. I heard someone describe it to me once. It is where a manga artist is having a hard time making a conclusion to the story that he's doing, and he's like facing pressure from his editors, and so he's like trying to figure out ways for the characters to get around the impossible solution the impossible problem he's accidentally put them into.
The impossible solution.
The impossible solution. He's trying to find a solution to the impossible problem that he's accidentally put the characters into, because he wrote them into this problem and he didn't think all the way through to the end. Mm-hmm. And so he's trying to write around it, but everything he comes up with he feels like isn't good enough. And then through some, I don't remember how exactly, but through some kind of happenstance, the characters from within that story come into the real world and start, like the bad guys in it that they're trying to beat, that they cannot beat because they accidentally made them too powerful, starts causing havoc in the real world. So now the mangaka teams up with his protagonist and with other characters to try and find a way to take this down. And I think, ironically, if I recall correctly, that story was then never finished because the actual author of that actual story could not then find a way to end it.
In my own hubris. That is, honestly, that's the perfect end to that story.
Right?
See, because now you know that the person writing that story went and made one of their characters into an isekai and is now trying to
fucking imagine getting to the near the climax of your story that you've been writing for so long, realize you made a huge fumble because you made the antagonist way too powerful. Mm-hmm. And so you can't write an ending that makes sense that would be satisfying, and so the characters get isekai into your world, or rather you are writing that story, so that okay, instead I'll write this other story about someone going through the same problem with me, and hopefully I'll find a solution through that, and then you can't.
And then you can't. Oh my god.
And I cannot remember the fucking title of it ever since I got it recommended to me, and I cannot fucking remember where I got it recommended to me from. So I unless I want to go back to like honestly probably over a year of shit at this point to try and find the title, or just I don't know, look up the synopsis, I guess. But that's only half useful.
Here, let me just guess the title real quick. I Isekai'd my protagonist.
There is one that I've had that is like not really a reverse isekai necessarily, but is more so playing with the idea of like magical elseworlds. More broadly speaking, and I haven't read or watched it. But it's called Gate, and the idea is that a big magical portal opens into our real world, and like a bunch of people and like a bunch of armies start coming through, and we fight them back. It's war stuff. I think I don't know much about it. Like the concept sounds really interesting, but I know little else.
It does sound interesting. The slip space rupture detected.
Slip space rupture detected. A medieval berserker orc full leaps onto the Covenant ship.
Oh my god.
That'd be hilarious. I would maybe kill somebody for a magical Elseworld meets Halo situation.
Oh my god.
Just because I think that'd be really, really fun.
That would be fun.
I want a 7-foot tall berserker orc to get Mjolnir armor.
He would fit in it.
I think that'd be hilarious. I want them to see the Spartans in Mjolnir armor, think that they are other orcs.
Spartan strolls up to a berserker orc, leans on a table. Hello, my fellow orcs. Oh my god. I have another interesting one.
Please. You're adding to my reading list with these most of the time. So.
Cool. So this one is called "I Married the Male Lead's Dad." We talked about the title earlier.
Briefly, yeah.
As you can guess by the title.
No, I can't guess anything from the
title. Basically, it's about this person who, again, is reading the story in the real world and is like, really, really likes the main protagonist, male lead, really likes him, really cool character, she likes him a lot. One day, I don't remember if she dies, I think she does, yes. She gets hit by a bus or something, and awakes in the world that in the world of the story she really likes, except the male protagonist is not a cool heroic adult but a fucking child.
No, she's arrived too early into the story.
Too early. So she eventually ends up meeting his dad, which she's like a fangirl basically at this point. So she was sending like presents to the house just to be like, oh, you're so cool, have this cool thing. And the male protagonist's dad misinterprets this as her wanting to marry him. Instead of, just thinking his son's cool. So that kind of devolves. And it starts off like this. The story starts off like this. And then everything gets a little weird. So in this world, magic is based on like fucking just gemstones people have lodged in random places in their body that they're born with. This is just something you have. And what type of rock it is determines what type of magic you use. So this lady's Isekai. Stone. So this lady's Isekai into a body that has basically the rock that gives you fucking healing powers. And yeah, the male protagonist's dad has the rock that gives him fire. It's just fucking fire. But anyway, so she's got the light stone, and after some shenanigans with the light stone, after some shenanigans with the church, it's found out that she is apparently, this body that she's been isekai'd into is apparently a reincarnation of some ancient, like, biblical priest that had like this immense power within. You know, which is like,
huh?
Yeah. Which is like, oh, okay, that's weird.
Wait, like ancient, like wait, huh?
Not a real priest, not in real life.
Okay.
Like in the stories, in the stories, religion. No. She's like in the stories,
religion. How that
works. In the world that she got isekai'd into's religion.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
I should have thought of that first, honestly.
But yeah, so that's a thing they learn that's interesting. And then another thing they learn is that the fact that she can remember her past life is not a good thing. In this world, it means that you've been cursed by God himself.
Wow, I feel that.
It means you've been cursed by God himself, which technically means that you should have the dark stone, which is the one that's evil.
Wow.
So this is confusing because
she has evil rock.
Yes, the evil rock, which is confusing because she has the light one.
Wow, the good rock.
The good rock, yeah. She a bit more digging is done, and it turns out that this is all very confusing, but I find it extremely interesting. I'm gonna try to explain it the best I can. So basically, not only is this lady isekai'd, not only is she a reincarnation of a fucking religious saint in their world, she is she is also, because as I mentioned, remembering your past is bad, the cursed daughter of God who has been forever cursed to kill her child over and over again. Like, in every life. Which is when it's also... Yeah, yeah, so basically, this lady, this daughter of God, at some point in her first ever existence, killed her kid. And so her dad, God, decided that as punishment for the rest of eternity, she just gets to relive that over and over again. At this point in the story, by the way, she has married the male lead's dad. That kid's technically her kid.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. And through trying to figure out how to make that not a problem, we find out that her brother the god's daughter's brother, right?
God's son?
Yeah, God's son.
Okay.
Yeah, this is complicated, but it's about to get really more complicated.
No, Alina, I'm fine. I'm playing it up for jokes, but
I'm not.
I've read and comprehended Homestuck. This is nothing.
I know. I'm aware that you've read Homestuck. I am more than aware.
No. Okay, all right. Turn it back on me. That's fair.
Yeah. So this God's son has a bit of an ability, right? Okay. He can he has the ability of what they call a creationist. He can create all kinds of things, kind of like God can. Like, for example, a modern world where he could put his siblings in while he tries to figure out how to break the curse.
What? Did this manga pull from fucking Gnostic? What? Hang on, wait.
So
I'm calculating. Hold a second.
Okay.
Maybe. This sounds unintentional pull from Gnosticism.
So basically, what we discover
Holy shit.
is that the modern world in the story is the fake one.
That is some
And the fantasy
fucking
one is the
escalation.
real one. Yeah. So technically, it's a reverse isekai.
It's not reverse isekai.
Technically,
Because our world is not the real one. Wow, Peter, it's good to know that you're listening but haven't said anything.
I didn't not let it participate.
It's been like an hour and a half since you spoke.
Yeah, I'm not in it today.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. We just need you to be here and make the funny noise at the end.
I'm here to make the funny, and that's about all I exist for.
Listen, you're the troop in the Trope Troupe. It's okay. If you need to lean on that more than normal, that's for one episode, that's fine. But anyway, yeah. So this. I Married the Male Lead's Dad is a bit more complicated than the title suggests.
Yeah, sure is. How did we get here?
It's a good one. Go read it. Again on
So like I would say that this is some Homestuck tier escalation, except it's unfortunately is close, but it's not quite there, because this sounds like it starts like a romance isekai and then goes nuts. Homestuck was always nuts and just got more nuts. This sounds more like the Xenoblade Chronicles kind of escalation, which is also a game. I love Xenoblade Chronicles. Where Xenoblade Chronicles begins with like a doing a revenge story sort of deal. And spoilers, by the end of it, spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, by the end of it, you are fighting God, but not God. There are two gods. You're fighting one of them. You're fighting the god of so the world of Xenoblade.
Oh God.
I'm not. That's a joke.
Okay.
You are fighting one of two creator deities, who is actually a scientist from our world who was doing some kind of experiment in space. Right, both creator deities were researchers on some kind of like orbital research station, and they had some kind of device. I forget a bunch of the details. It's been a while since I played Xenoblade Chronicles. They had some kind of device that was doing something ridiculous, they were testing some kind of experiment, and they accidentally annihilated their reality, which is our reality, I'm pretty sure.
Oops.
And a new one was reformed based on the both of them, where they are now like these two creator deities within it, locked in eternal combat, as two colossal titans, and then like life spawns from their bodies. So it's, and then you fight him. You fight one of the two titans, but you fight him in like his god form, which is human sized. Thankfully, thank God.
Thank God.
This may be a related trope, but there is a lot of there's a lot of media that seems to come from East Asia that deals with the like corruption of the institution of the church. That's maybe a thing we can talk about in the future.
I know, right? I already know where I can talk about it. Halo.
Right, but that's specific to. That's a specific example.
That I can bring up when we talk about the general topic.
Yes, that kind of sounds similar to the where it starts with much lower stakes than you end up with.
Yeah.
That's absurd. Wait. So is our protagonist who got isekai'd literally God's daughter?
Yes.
Okay, and she didn't know this
No.
because she was in the simulated world formed by her brother to try and find a way to break the curse that's on her so that she doesn't have to murder her child over and over again?
Yes.
Or is that just to like remove her from that cycle?
It was I think it was like a temporary solution while he tried to figure out how to break it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because once he put their souls into his world, which is only his, like God does not have any jurisdiction there. Like they were no longer in the curse because God has no jurisdiction there. So he basically put him in his pocket for a bit. And then got hit by a bus. And fell back out. Yeah. There's also like a ton of other stuff about the story, but like that is not isekai related, so I'm not getting into it.
Yeah, no, I think that there are, like, these are some really good examples of isekai, and I think it really does show that, like, the concept is not, creatively stagnant.
No.
Right? There's still, like, a lot of really cool, fun things you can do with it. It's just that there's quite an unfortunate thing that a lot of them don't.
I do have an example of one that's boring.
Oh, please, give it.
It's called 50 tea recipes from the Duchess. This person gets isekai'd into this fantasy world, and as you do, she knows nothing about it. Like, there's no fantasy book here that she's read in terms of, like, she's brand new, brand spanking new to her. And the entire story basically devolves into this person just really liking tea. And like,
I love tea.
And like at first it's cool because like the whole concept is like this world has like a bias towards tea, like they don't like it. They prefer coffee. And it's her trying to change that. And it's a very low stakes story, which is fine. Like it doesn't have to be high stakes. But it's basically her trying to change everyone's mind about tea and be like, it actually can be good, and there's all these different types. But eventually it just like she solves that problem. Like people like tea now, and she's selling it herself and stuff, but she still keeps doing tea stuff, and it's like, man, we already fixed the problem. Why are we here? And not only that, but like the tea obsession is the only thing that comes out of the isekai. Like, you could totally remove the isekai part and just have a lady obsessed with tea, and it would be the same story.
Yeah, I don't know what the isekai element is doing there. You could absolutely just have a character who's like had tea. Maybe it's like tea is like a foreign import to them, and so they're like gain a fascination with it.
Yeah. Like,
bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. That's a problem I have with a lot of the Tapas isekai that I've seen.
It's also a problem in the ones I was talking about.
Yeah, the ones you're talking. Yeah, but like it like
seems to be a general issue.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are like on the ones I've seen on Tapas anyway. The isekai is not there to serve a story element. It's there to get people to read it, because isekai's a popular enough genre where if you just make the person an isekai, it's gonna do better, like on the site that you put it on, regardless of if it's Tapas or whatever. I remember there was a story I read. I don't even remember what it was called. It was that forgettable. But it basically was just this person. It was a story, and it was like it was doing really, like, it was just about a fantasy world. It was pretty cool, and then like this girl goes into like a magic tower thing, and suddenly has like a flashback of the modern day, and it's like it comes out of fucking nowhere. It has nothing to do with the plot. It has zero anything to do with anything, and it doesn't come up again until like multiple episodes later, and even then it's not like it's vaguely alluding to an isekai having occurred, but it's not like fully committing to it, and it like that pissed me off so much, because it's like, are you an isekai or not? Make up your fucking mind.
I've seen isekais that are like they where like the character that we're following like regains their memories of their past life as like a full-grown adult in this new world. So they have like two lives worth of the memories at that point.
Yeah.
And I think like there are really interesting things you can do with that, but especially when that does happen, it does make me think of like, this is just an isekai so that you can onboard people easier.
Yeah.
And I understand why you would do it, because like if it's a good story otherwise, I think I'll forgive that.
Yeah.
But if it's boring as fuck, I won't.
Yeah. I kind of also especially get it on Tapas, because like we mentioned before, Tapas is a lot of Korean what was it again?
Manhwa with a U.
Manhwa.
Yeah, manhwa.
Yeah, it's a lot of manhwa. And Tapas really likes to like hype up the manhwa. Like there are other like art styles and things that like exist on the site, but it is predominantly manhwa. And so like trying to get your story to some degree of viewership in this sea of manhwa when you're also making a manhwa is like, I get it, man. I get why you did it. I just and I like there are a lot of ones that I read anyway because I could tolerate it because it didn't come up again. Like in the first episode it's mentioned and then never again. So it's like okay, I could just pretend that didn't happen. But like it's the reason I put this topic on my list in the first place is just because like there's so fucking many of them. Like I could list off so many more examples here, but they're not noteworthy enough to me to like bring up. But it's just like There's so fucking many of these. Dear God. I also have a lot of time travel ones, but we can get to that later.
I have not, because obviously I'm referring to like a lot of manga and anime, so those don't seem to have a lot of time travel in it, so I'm really curious about that.
The time travel is basic. It does the same thing as the isekai stuff, really.
Yeah.
To be entirely honest with you, the only difference is it's like the person's familiar with the world because they lived in it in a past life, as opposed to either being familiar with it through a book or not at all. That's the key difference. And also just like they're usually taken back in time as themselves, as opposed to sudden random noblewoman. Like,
it would be really interesting if you get thrown back in time, but as not you become not you become somebody else.
Yeah.
And you like see yourself doing all of the things that you had done previously, and you can't divert it. And then when you get to the point in time that you were sent back in time at originally, you just see yourself fall brain dead on the floor.
You see yourself get hit by a modern bus.
By a modern bus. And die.
You think to stop it at first, but then remember, no, I can't.
If you stop the bus, then you die twice.
Oh my God.
There's also like the thing of like a lot of the ones where like you die first, I've noticed don't really like I don't know, a lot of them just like are not interested in contending with the fact that like you just died. That was probably painful, especially if you get hit by a van.
Yeah.
And like usually they have a few moments before they die, and it's like you just wake up in this new world suddenly not dealing with the very real trauma of getting hit by a truck.
I mean,
and all of your bones being broken and lying on the ground, dying, gasping for air.
Yeah, I mean, to be 100% honest with you, if I was suddenly isekai'd into a world, I would, like, the first thing I'd be thinking is, where the fuck am I? It's like, I will deal with the truck later.
You just never return to it. It's like...
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You were scarred from that? Like, at all? Really? I don't believe you.
That depends. If you're born into a survival situation like Villains Are Destined to Die does, I don't know if it fucking matters. That's like, you know.
Well, she also didn't die before she got transported, right?
No, she fell asleep. But she did have an abusive household in the real world, so that was just sort of a add it to the pile, add it to the pile, add it to the pile.
Man, my life sucks. Smiles.
Smiles. Surrounded by people that hate you and want to kill you. This is fine. Oh my god.
It really is. Like, I do just want to see an isekai. Like, I'm sure some exist out there, right? Where like, the character gets warped in, and they are like contending with the fact that their new body is different in a bunch of like minor ways that you wouldn't think you would notice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the shape of my nose is a little different, but it's to the point where I can like actually see the tip of it when I go cross-eyed now. So I just want to see something like contend with that level of discomfort.
I thought of a weird one.
Hmm?
Cat gets hit by a car, gets isekai'd into a fantasy realm.
But as like a human person?
As a human person.
Oh my god. Can you imagine suddenly having like
hands? The capacity to speak.
Capacity to speak? I know full well for a lot of cats, if they could talk, would be saying the foulest things.
I think I know what they'd be saying. Meow.
No.
Meow.
Cat becomes a person, automatically knows the fucking onomatopoeia for its own
I
fucking
remember
voice.
my owner saying this once. Meow. Meow. Purr, purr.
Wow.
Am I humaning yet?
Once again, there's some fun things you can do with it. I've only seen someone talk about this one. I haven't checked it out myself, but there's one where somebody has been isekai'd and they become a sword, and they end up in just like a situation where they're just like in a forest. The previous wielder has died. They are a sword. They cannot move.
Oh my god, no.
And the start of it is specifically actually. I don't think the story is actually focused on Sword as a character. It's focused on this other girl who's like native to this world, and she is she's running from slavers and finds this sword in the woods and picks it up and like fucking soul binds to the sword. So now she can use the sword with ease, despite the fact that it's a colossal sword and she's malnourished.
Through the power of friendship.
The power of friendship and this giant 1-ton slab of metal I found.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna kill you. And I have not read, or I think it's got like one season of an anime, so I haven't read or watched it. But that just like that just is like instantly inherently more intriguing to me than somebody just getting sent to an else world.
Yeah.
Inherently, right? Like the inherent getting isekai is not interesting enough for me to want to engage with it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Every single one that I've tried to read has like it stopped being about isekai and it started being about just like the vibe of the image that I was presented with. It's just like, does this look good? I think it does. I'll try it. And most of the
This
time
sure
I'm
is some
right.
interesting splash art.
Yeah. Most of the time I'm right. Sometimes I'm horrifically wrong.
The thing is, like, there is the phrase you can't judge a book by its cover, but unfortunately, you kind of have to before you start reading anything.
Yeah. I feel like it's
Because
easier
how
to...
else is it gonna, like, attract your eye in the first place? The
Yeah.
title that is sideways on the cover, on the spine of the book, I can't read sideways.
I can't read the language of sideways. Yeah. And I feel like it's especially easier to judge when it's a book that has, like, you know, art involved. Like, if you've got one of those old books that's just like a red cover and then like the title, it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of harder to judge. But we're talking like, you know, I married the male lead's dad, and then it's like an image of the two in space together. That is like, okay, yeah, no, I get the general gist of the beginning at least. I know that one derails, but we're not gonna think about that. uh, I think that's all the examples that I want to go through. Because a lot of the other ones are just very generic. They don't have a lot to talk about. So, and I think we're good. Unless somebody else has something they want to say about Isekai.
I don't. So unless there's anything you want to say, Peter.
Not really. I mean, yes, there are things that I want to say, but I can't articulate any coherent sentence about anything in particular, aside from the fact that I can't speak.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, you know what to do.
Indeed, I do.
You've been hit by, you've been struck by.